This weekend's going to be all about Matt's 2017 Tacoma SR5 model. We're going to be doing 3 different modifications, starting with today, replacing the OEM Style rack on his truck with a new Prinsu Rack. Now, if you guys have been on the channel for a while or you're a subscriber, you'll know that we recently installed this OEM Style rack. Once Matt got it on the truck, he wasn't that thrilled about the overall look, and it just didn't really have a very high quality feel to it. And so he decided to replace it with a Prinsu rack. And so we're gonna be doing that in today's video. Tomorrow, we're gonna be adding spacers to his truck. And then on Sunday, we're gonna be doing some new decals. And so this weekend, it's gonna all be focused on Matt's Tacoma SR5. Let's give you a quick look at his truck before we make those changes. So he's got an SR5 with quite a few modifications. He's got Bilstein 5100 shocks, TRD Offroad wheels, the BFG KO2 tires. As we come around the back, he's got a sweet bed rack. It's an RCI rack with the CVT 10 up top. And then up front, you can see we've got the CVT awning. So a pretty sweet overall setup. Adding that Prinsu rack is gonna really give the cab of the truck a really nice look. You can see the OEM Style rack's okay, but it's just gonna look a lot better with that Prinsu rack. And then really curious to see how the spacers look on his truck. You look at his truck compared to mine, very similar overall. He's got the KO2s, and then I've got the Goodyear Wrangler Ultra Train AT tires. So they've got a slightly different appearance to begin with, and it'll be really interesting to see how those spacers look side by side once he's got them on. Do a side-by-side comparison with my truck and give you a look at that. All right, so we got the rack here. Matt's gonna take it out.
Very nice, very nice. Looks like we got all our hardware here.
Will require a little bit of assembly. We're hoping that'll go pretty quick, although that's a lot of bolts and washers there.
There's the windscreen, the 40-inch light bar cutout.
Does that mean a light bar's coming next?
Someday. There it is. That's the way we go.
Nice.
That'll look nice. I always thought it'd be nice to put a little kind of a low ambient light behind this.
Ooh.
Not much, just a little.
Yeah, I like that idea. What did this rack cost, by the way?
Actually, I went on another YouTuber's channel because I knew he did some Prinsu stuff, and he seems to always have discount stuff. So I went on there and got a 10% off. Nice. And so I think shipped it was $684.
Okay.
So it didn't cover all the shipping, but it almost.
So it's not cheap, but
no,
it's
it sure isn't. But it's you can
good
stand
quality.
on it and mount all sorts of stuff to it.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna look awesome on the truck too.
There's the load bars.
So we're gonna get all the parts out and then we'll go over the assembly. So for the first step to install, we're installing the fairing on this stainless steel bar here. And in order to do it, basically there's a screw, locking nut, and a washer. So you put the locking nut on first, then the washer, and then we've got these little guys that slide in the rack. We're putting it so that that little edge on the bottom there is facing down. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 total times 2. So sliding those little guys into place so they line up with the holes. And then once we've got them lined up pretty good, we'll pop each of these in and screw them in with a Phillips head. So the next step, we've got the fairing laid out and the sidebars, and then we're gonna put in all the crossbars. Got some paper and cardboard laid out so we don't scratch the rack. And then installation's pretty easy here. We've got all the hardware, so I already went through the process of putting each of the screws with a locking nut and a washer on there. So the locking nut goes first, then the washer, and then these are just gonna screw right through. So you can see on the fairing here, we've got 2 holes here. That's gonna connect in there. So we've got placement options for putting the fairing on here. And then for each of those crossbars, we'll be just going through along here, and we can set those bars where we want them along the length there. So we got the drill, make the process go a little bit quicker since we got that guy. So we're just gonna go through real quick and install the crossbars and the fairing. So we got the rack all put together here. We didn't tighten those crossbars too much, just in case we have any conflicts once we get up on the truck. Two conflicts you want to keep in mind is if you've got a sunroof, you might want to space the bars appropriately, not to block that too far. Matt doesn't have one on his SR5, and so we just kind of space them as evenly as possible, putting one bar up at the very front and then one at the rear. The other conflict you've got to keep in mind is that antenna on the roof. It looked like having this bar all the way at the back and then position this bar all the way at the front of this section should leave us adequate space. So we lifted it up, put it side by side with the truck just to make sure there weren't any conflicts and it looked like we're good. So now that we've got the rack all put together, we just pulled off the OEM rack that we had put on before, unscrewed that pretty easily. If you are starting from scratch, you've got to pull out the rubber weather seal going from the driver, front of the window all the way to the rear. I'll show you real quick. So the seal right here just pulls out. You can pull it with your finger basically. Pull that out, and then you'll reveal screw holes. And then we're just cleaning it up before we put the new rack back on. So you can see with this rear bar, we actually don't have enough clearance with that antenna. And so we've got to turn it 90 degrees. I'm gonna move this one down to that location, give us that extra clearance that we need to get it to fit. So something to keep in mind. Okay, so the next step is we're getting all the hardware ready to mount the rack to the truck. What we've got here is each of these little black spacer guys. Those go on the bottom. Then we've got a washer, locking nut, and we got the bolt going through all of those. Now what we're gonna do is get up on the truck and we're gonna put each of these, there's 5 on the passenger side, 5 on the driver's side, bolt holes in the roof. We're gonna go fill those with silicone, place each of these on the roof so it's all lined up and ready to go. And then we're gonna take the rack, put it up and set it on these, and then bolt these guys down through there. We've got to do it quick enough that the silicone doesn't have time to dry. So you got to be a little bit quick with this step. Okay, so we got 2 bolt holes here, 1 in the middle, and 2 up front. So Matt's gonna insert the silicone in there. Be pretty liberal with his application. Just get it on there really good, so there's no gap for water to get in when we put those screws in. So you'll see we've got these ones lined up. Take it and just sit it in there. Make sure you got good coverage around it. And now we're ready to install the rack. So we got the rack up and we've got all of the bolts in position, and then we'll kind of tighten them going around from one side to the other. So you don't want to tighten any one down too hard until they're kind of all concurrently doing the same. But overall it's looking pretty good. You'll see that the weather seal is no longer in place. Matt will be adding that in after the fact. So he's gonna get that cut up to fit in and fill those gaps. Give you a quick look at the truck with just the rack, and then we'll get that awning installed. Looks really nice, ties in very well with that bed rack. Much better than what you got with the OEM style rack. Installing the awning on the Prinsu rack goes a lot smoother than it did on the OEM style rack. Instead of those hose clamps, which look kind of tacky, this is designed to slide right into place. So before we put in this crossbar, we put those attachments in ahead of time. That would be one disadvantage, is it's a little hard to add an attachment like this after the fact. You'd have to loosen everything up to get it in there. So the Prinsu rack is installed and it looks really good. We've got the awning up there now as well, so we'll give you another quick look. You can do a little side-by-side comparison here with my truck. I've got the Yakima Rack, so not quite as beastly as the Prinsu Rack. Just depends on the type of look you're going for. Of course, this rack goes in very nicely with the bed rack. Very similar style to the two. Looks really good with that awning up there, a whole lot better than it did on the OEM style rack. Pretty sweet setup. And you got the Yakima Rack over on this side. Now Matt just needs to add some more things up top. In the comments below, let us know what you think he should be doing next. LED bars, basket. Matt's standing up on the rack just to show how durable it is. He's pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Time to spend some time up there. Can't do that on the OEM Style rack.
No.
No, maybe he could, but it's definitely gonna flex a little. So that's the Prinsu Rack install for the 3rd generation Tacoma. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the section below. For more videos of the 3rd generation Tacoma, subscribe to my channel. We got a couple more uploads coming just in the next 2 days. Spacers are next tomorrow, and then we're gonna be doing some badging changes the following day. So stay posted for that. In the meantime, thanks for watching.